It's just making my mouth water. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. I'm looking at the data from our contest and I'm so excited with the feedback that we got on your favorite recipes from all 6 seasons. I'm also wearing my red and black today because we're going to do fan favorites. Everybody knows I'm a Georgia Bulldog and I'm so excited for all of the successes that the Bulldogs have had this season. So today what we're going to do on the show is we're going to announce the 3 winners in our appetizer, main dish, and dessert categories. So let's start with the appetizer, perfect for football games, a Vidalia onion galette. It is easy to make, delicious, and will be perfect for when you've got people over to watch the game. Our main dish winner is beef stroganoff, and it is absolutely easy and delicious. And then finally, peanut butter pie is the perfect ending to a great celebration. So let's get started on that Vidalia onion galette. All right, well, the winner of the appetizer part of our Facebook contest is Carrie Morey's Vidalia onion galette. And I just, I love Carrie. She's been on the show so many times. And this is from her Callie's Biscuits and Southern Traditions cookbook, which is fantastic if you don't have it. So one of the things that you have to do, of course, is make the pie crust that goes in this. So this is Carrie's recipe, for pie crust, and I did a little bit different with it. It's her recipe, but I used a different technique to make it. Don't be mad at me, Carrie. So what we did was we started with the food processor. We put the flour in the processor, the salt, and just spun that just long enough to get it mixed together. Then we added in the cubed butter that's really ice cold, and I did that in 3 sections. Just spun that around long enough to blend it. You're looking for like a coarse Parmesan cheese look to the flour. Then we added in 7 tablespoons of water, and you're gonna think this is never gonna work, and then all of a sudden it turns into a ball. So it's very easy to work with at that point. Then you put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper, put that in the refrigerator, and I've already gone ahead and done that. This one has been in the refrigerator, for several hours, and now we're gonna roll this out into a 12-inch circle. So it's just, it makes the idea of working with pie crust that you make yourself easy to do, very easy to do. And, as far as the technique of doing it in the food processor, we did that on a Vera's Mini, and if you want to check it out and maybe watch it a couple of times, just go to that on our Facebook page. All right, so you just see how easy this dough is to work with. And 12 inches is a ruler, so you should be able to eyeball that without any problem. In the meantime, I've got the onions going, and 2 pounds of sliced Vidalia onions are what we're working with over there. And I melted my butter in the pan, then I added 2 pounds of cut Vidalia onions. And Vidalia onions, you don't even cry when you're cutting them up. So I've got those done, and I'm gonna add into that some Dijon mustard, a little bit of fresh thyme, pepper, and just enough salt to kind of work with that. We're going to stir that together. And obviously you can see that the onions cook down. This takes about 40 minutes. So you're going to want to make sure that you get this started in plenty of time, but it almost caramelizes them. All right, so I've got a 12-inch circle here. And now I've got to transfer this to my sheet pan, because you don't want to make the mistake that I made one time and did it and put the onions on it when it was on the counter, and then I couldn't move it to my sheet pan. All right, so I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna cover this with Parmesan cheese. And you wanna leave about a 2-inch edge around. So this is such a good appetizer. We did it one way when I had Carrie on the show. She made this, but today I'm going to present it in a different way. All right, so I'm going to get my pot holders out. So one of the things you want to always remember is that these cast iron skillets get really hot. So I want to just dump all of that right in the center. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. And you know, we're talking about football today too, and this would be the perfect thing to take to a tailgate. All right, so once you've done this, we're going to start rolling the edge over. And then this is going to go into a 400-degree oven, and it bakes for about 20 minutes, and then you look at it and you add some more. I'm going to wash it with a little bit of egg. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on something that'll be wonderful to serve to your guests that are coming over to watch the game with you, and that is a slow cooker beef stroganoff. So come back and join us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. And if you're just joining us, we're doing fan favorites today. That's right. We ask everybody out there to like us on Facebook and to pick their favorite appetizer, main dish, and dessert that we've done in 6 seasons on the VeryVera show. So we've gone ahead and put Carrie Morey's Galette, her Vidalia onion galette, which won for best appetizer. It's in the oven on 400 degrees. And now the winning main dish is absolutely my recipe. I'm so excited. It's for slow cooker beef stroganoff, and I love it. So this is a great use of your tenderloin tails. You know, at the fresh market, they'll always have the tenderloin tails, which is, you know, the end of the beef tenderloin that, you know, you can't use if you buy a whole one if you're cutting it into steaks. So this is a great use of that part of the steak, and a lot of times it's about $4 a pound less at the fresh market. So I've gone ahead and gotten some of it cut up, but what you want to do is, of course, take the tails, trim all of the fat off, leave a little bit because there's a lot of flavor there, but the gristle and the rind off of the steak, and then you want to pound it down with a meat mallet between a piece of parchment paper to about a ½ inch thick. So now we're going to cut it into 3-inch strips. And you know, you say, well, that's a pretty long strip. Well, of course, it's going to shrink a little bit. But one of the reasons I like to leave the strips 2 to 3 inches is that, you know, you can actually use a knife with this dish. And, you know, there's something a little bit heartier to me about a meat casserole that you're going to use a knife and a fork to eat it. So now I've got a bowl going that I've already put the cut up meat in. I've sprinkled it with flour. So this is very reminiscent of those of you that make fruit cakes or any cake with fruit in it, how you take the fruit and toss it with flour so it doesn't all stick together. Well, that's what we're doing with this beef. It's just getting it nice and coated with some flour. And I've got my butter melting in my cast iron skillet because we're going to sear this up before it goes in the pan. All right, so let me get this turned up. And you know, my husband and I were fortunate enough to get to go to the Rose Bowl. That was one of those bucket list items that if the Georgia Bulldogs ever made it to the Rose Bowl, we were going. So we had such a great time. But you know, just when we're having friends over, especially during the fall when we're watching the Georgia Bulldogs play, this dish is great because it can go, you can put it on in the morning, and by the time you're ready to eat, it's ready to go. So all we're doing here is just getting this beef seared before it goes in the crock pot. The other nice part about this dish is that you can serve it on either egg noodles or rice. And so when I made this in season 4, it was actually the Symphony of Kitchens tour here in Augusta, and they, you know, all day long, everybody's going around to all the houses looking at them, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if I showed a dish, demonstrated a dish in one of those kitchens that is something that could be going while you're out doing that, and then you come back and you have dinner. So it really went over really well. I served it on egg noodles, but today we're going to do it on a rice dish that's delicious. So while that's going, let me talk a minute about what I've already done in advance. We've gone ahead and gotten the beef done. This is cooked for 6 to 8 hours. So at this point, I'm just going to add the sour cream to it. Oh, and just the aroma is so good. So this is 2 cups of sour cream. And just look at this delicious, this just makes the most wonderful gravy. So everything is done in advance. I've got the beef cooking here. It's gonna go in the crock pot with the onions, the mushrooms, and some Worcestershire sauce, and it's just gonna cook down. You add the sour cream at the last minute, and just look how delicious that's gonna be. We're gonna put this over some rice. It's gonna be good to go. So, in Vera's Corner today, I'm gonna give you some tips on knife skills that will help you. And then we're gonna get started on peanut butter pie, which won for best dessert. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Today we're going to do a fan favorite mini that I hope you'll enjoy. It's always great to brush up on your knife skills, and those 6 skills are chop, dice, mince, julienne, and chiffonade. To chop an onion, slice off the end opposite the root, then slice the onion through the root. Make parallel cuts toward the root. Make 1 perpendicular cut through the middle of the onion, then chop down vertically to create onion pieces. Dicing is similar to chopping, but it calls for more precision and smaller pieces. A diced ingredient should be around 1/4 of an inch long. Mincing is like dicing, but very small. To mince garlic, thinly slice the peeled garlic clove, then run your knife over the pieces for a few passes until the garlic is in small pieces. Mincing doesn't need to be precise. To julienne is to cut into small matchsticks. To julienne a carrot, slice the carrot into thin rectangles, then slice the rectangles into thin, long strips. Chiffonade is a technique used to cut leafy herbs into ribbons without having to slice each individual leaf. Stack the leaves uniformly, then roll tightly and slice the roll into thin ribbons. Welcome back, everybody, and the winner of the dessert category is me again. I'm so excited. This is the peanut butter pie that we have been making at VeryVera for years. And you know, I always have twist recipe. I'm sure many of you have your favorite peanut butter pie recipe. But the twist to this recipe is the fact that the crust is so amazing. So what I've got here is my powdered sugar and cream cheese blended for 10 minutes. And now I've added in my peanut butter, and I'm gonna add in whipped topping and let it go for another 5. So the twist to this recipe that is so amazing is my mother-in-law, Sue Stewart, her recipe for pie crust that I think it might have been one of the first recipes that I asked for before I was even married, because her pie crust was so delicious. So while this is blended about, we're going to get started on the pie crust. So it uses a softened stick of margarine, and she actually called it oleos. For so any of you out in the audience that remember those days when your mom or grandmother referred to margarine as oleo, that's kind of cool. All right, I'm going to add to that 1/3 cup of light brown sugar and sliced almonds. And all you're doing here is just kind of mixing this together. And this just makes a really interesting crunch to this pie. You know, most peanut butter pie recipes use a graham cracker crust. So I really hope that you'll try this because it's different, and the brown sugar is a nice flavor with the peanut butter. It's just really delicious. So once you've got this kind of blended together, now we're going to add the oats. So this is 2 cups of old-fashioned oatmeal. And this is going to go in a shallow pie dish. And so this is one of those recipes that as long as you are at the mixer and at the counter doing, go ahead and make a couple because they freeze really great. And you know, we have really loved our Sub-Zero refrigerator freezer that has the drawers that pull out, and it's just easy to find things, so I generally like to keep a pie crust in the freezer in case I need something at the last minute. All right, so this is going to go into a pie shell, and at this point you're just really taking a spoon. I've tried it with my hands and I've tried it with the back of a spoon, but I really like the back of a spoon better. But you're really just pressing it around and getting it up on the side. Okay, I've got some vanilla to add to my mixture over here. It's smelling great. I'm gonna whip that up a little bit higher. But all you're doing here is just pressing this down. And this actually bakes and gets golden on a 350-degree oven. But I went ahead and did one in advance. So this one has been baked. You see it's got a nice golden color to it. And the sides kind of, you know, shrink down. So what you can also do right after it's cool enough to touch, you can just kind of take your thumbs and go around it. But this, you know, will be an easy way to cut this pie, and it's really delicious. So one of the things about this recipe also that's really good is we're gonna do a meringue on the top that is amazing. It's just a really delicious dessert. We're also going to garnish it with Hershey's chocolate today too. So I think this is just about ready to go in. This is one of those recipes that you can get your young person in the kitchen too, because they can learn a little bit about how to add ingredients slowly at the last minute, how to not turn that mixer up to its highest speed when you're doing something that will fly all over the kitchen counter, because I know I'm guilty of that myself. But you're just going to fill the inside of this with the pie filling. Oh man, so creamy. And if it all didn't mix in, it's kind of a marbled look, that's fine too. All right, so when we come back from the break, we're gonna put all of these award-winning recipes out. And as always, during the break, if you wanna check us out on our website at VeryVera.com, the recipes are available, and you can go ahead and get that grocery list going, because I know you wanna try these. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Yum. Well, obviously, the people that are watching the VeryVera show know what they're talking about. All of you out there, because you picked the 3 best recipes from all 6 seasons. And I'm so excited the way everything turned out. So let's kind of go back through and recap what we've done today. The Vidalia Onion Galette won Best Appetizer. This is Carrie Morey of Callie's Biscuits in Charleston and Decatur. Her recipe for Vidalia Onion Galette is a perfect appetizer. And honestly, if you look closely at it, where we've added bacon as a twist to this recipe, I could have that as my bread option with a spaghetti dinner. It just is wonderful. But the presentation today I'm very excited about. We did it on a charcuterie board with olives and nuts, cheese straws. We've got some prosciutto and some cheese, a little bit of horseradish and your favorite jam. And you've really put on something pretty spectacular. All right, then we moved to our main dish winner, which was my recipe for beef stroganoff. This really goes back in time with my family and is just a wonderful crock pot meal that you can get going that morning and have dinner ready that night. What we did different this time was we did a rice dish, which is a cup of rice, a can of beef broth, and a can of onion soup. And you just bake that for an hour, and it's a really great rice dish. And this will be wonderful as a buffet item as well. Then we went to peanut butter pie. The peanut butter pie is my favorite dessert, and actually, again, is another one of my recipes. And what makes this recipe so special to me is the crust is my mother-in-law's pie crust recipe with oatmeal and brown sugar and almonds. It's really crunchy. You just want to use this pie crust on your favorite pie recipe, and it'll change everything. So we did the meringue. It's egg whites that you whipped with a little bit of sugar. We added in marshmallow fluff, ran that under the broiler for just long enough to get it nice and toasty. And then we've presented it today with Hershey's syrup, Reese's cups for the garnish on the top, and then we've even done chocolate milk with our Hershey's syrup as the beverage of choice. So obviously it paid off for the VeryVera show to do a Facebook poll, and we're going to be doing more of that as we go into more shows, and we want you to participate. We want you to like us on Facebook and let us have this kind of feedback on what recipes you've tried and liked and want to do more of. Next week, we've got a huge announcement, and we just want to make sure that you set your calendar to be with us next week as we make that big announcement. And then, as I always say, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. And I have to end by saying, go dogs, and thank you so much for being part of the VeryVera show.
To see what's cooking with the VeryVera show, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.